Well, Warner Bros Discovery, the parent company of AEW's two networks, TNT and TBS, has gone ahead and filed a lawsuit against the NBA over the media rights deals. Warner Bros Discovery lost the media right deals to Amazon, where the NBA has announced that they are moving the packages that were on TNT are now going to be going over to Amazon Prime. And Warner Brothers Discovery has filed lawsuit against the NBA, claiming that they have the rights to match the offers. And they, I guess, initially put out an offer that was rejected by the NBA. They chose to go with Amazon. Now Warner Brothers wants to match what Amazon had paid, and apparently they have in their contract the right to do so. But the NBA is claiming, well, you can match financially, but you're not really matching by reach, because Amazon Prime is in so many more households than TNT could provide. So even though the dollar value's there, the eyeballs aren't there. The overall package is not the same. So that is in dispute. So what does this mean for us wrestling fans? Because this is not an NBA channel, as you might have guessed by my poor explanation of that. My layman's explanation, I should say, because it's not a poor explanation. That's what's going on. But that's the meat and potatoes of it. How does this affect AEW? Well, AEW's this is their media rights year, right? Their rights are up this year, and this is the year that they would be expecting to re-sign with Warner Brothers Discovery and get a new deal, which they most likely will, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But why haven't we seen or heard anything yet? Well, it's because Warner Brothers has a whole lot of money that they're trying to tie up in these NBA. They really want that NBA rights deal. And to be 100% honest, Warner Brothers Discovery is not that financially stable of a company right now. They just went through a merger not that long ago with a company that was failing at the time. Discovery was running stronger. Warner Brothers was not doing so hot. The merger helps them out greatly. It's provided more stability than they had, but they don't have a lot of liquid funds. They're not just booming, rolling in money where they can do, they're stretching themselves thin, but they want this NBA rights deal. And if they are able to do that and they're able to match the Amazon or offer more money than Amazon's offering because they can't compete with the viewership, that might have to come out of AEW's pocket, and AEW might have to find a new home. Now, that's kind of where we're sitting with things right now. Though, according to experts, which I am not, it does seem like Warner Brothers Discovery is not going to win this one, that they are not going to get the media rights deal from the NBA, and in which case they're going to want to double down. And they're going to want to lock in, solidify, and build up the properties that they are able to get and keep with. And one of those is certainly going to be AEW. I would expect if they don't have the money to put into the NBA, they're going to have a lot of money to invest in AEW, and AEW will get the media rights deal that they were hoping for, or at least something pretty close to it. For more on this, there was a gentleman on Busted Open Radio this week talking with Bully and Tommy Dreamer about the whole TV rights deal. I'll give you his name on the back end. I forget it offhand, but we'll double check that. Check out this clip.
Do you believe AEW is worth that high-end money from the network? Do you believe that they're worth $110, $115 million a year?
I do. I mean, you kind of hit on it, like live programming, live content, and they have clearly established themselves as the number 3 in the fight game behind UFC, WWE. And they saw, Tony and his folks saw an opening. They took advantage of it, and they've done a really good job establishing themselves as that third tier, just in terms of media value property. The numbers are there. Like 750,000 isn't, amazing. It's not, I'm not going to compare it to the NFL because nothing's the NFL, but there are, key programs out there key sports that aren't drawing that on cable.
So, best case scenario, in your opinion, right now is that $115 million a year, right in that range deal for AEW for multiple years, correct?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good deal for them.
What is the worst case scenario right now for AEW?
The worst case is if TNT does re-up with the NBA. If for some reason, if they do end up going back as a partner and paying a lot of money, that is around 1.9 billion, I think that the NBA is asking for annually in that sort of package. There may not be money on the table for an AEW. There certainly wouldn't be down the road for a UFC.
But there wouldn't be any money on the table for AEW, as in AEW.
I don't know what kind of dollars would be left. I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, let's be honest, Warner Bros. Discovery is not the most liquid company right now. They have a massive amount of debt. Now, they have a line of credit that they'd be able to afford this NBA match, but, you know, they had to get a line of credit just to be able to do that. Like, a lot of debt going on there with Warner Bros. Discovery. That's probably why they're not going to be an NBA partner going forward.
So, in your opinion, do things look positive for AEW getting a new deal?
I do. I think AEW is going to be in a good spot because, you know, if I were a betting man, I'm not betting that the NBA stays with Warner Brothers Discovery. I think TNT this will be their last season with the NBA. They'll come to some sort of settlement. So that leaves Warner Brothers Discovery with a mountain of cash. And that's probably why, you know, Tony wants to get the max value because he's also reading the same sort of things that I'm reading.
Austin Karp is that gentleman's name. He's a media journalist and sounds like he knows what he's talking about, at least. And this is kind of in line with a lot of the other stuff that I've been seeing as well. So this seems to be pretty much the case here, that AEW is just sort of kind of waiting in the wings pending what this NBA deal is going to do. And depending on which way that goes, that can have major implications for AEW. Thankfully, at least for us wrestling fans, and even if you don't like AEW, you need to be in favor of them getting a new TV deal and a big TV deal. Because to be quite frank, it's healthy for the fucking business. You don't have to like or watch or care. You can LOL at Tony Khan and all of his cringy everything and their half-ass empty crowds and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's important for there to be competition. It's important to be a number two. In fact, I'm just, recently the Deadpool and Wolverine movie came out. Watched that and I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and stuff around that. And there was an interview with Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel, and he was asked about the new Superman coming out for the DC universe. DC Comics was always a rival with Marvel. And he was asked, well, how do you feel about the DC EU starting up again and possibly being able to compete in the market? And he's like, it's great. It's good. First of all, I like good movies. First of all, I like good wrestling. Second of all, it's good for both brands to be competitive. Because if AEW gets hot, WWE is going to get hot. As it did, remember? WWE is fucking dead if you don't remember. 5 years ago under Vince, same match every single week. Like on repeat. It was like completely brain dead, thoughtless, rewritten scripts every single week. It was the worst product ever. AEW came along, shook things up, and got people re-engaged, including myself. Man, I had gotten to the point where I stopped watching Raw and SmackDown. Then I got to the point where I was skipping pay-per-views. That's how you know you're losing your fandom. It's one thing to be like, well, I'll just watch the pay-per-views, but now are the premium live events. But now when you're skipping those two and you're like, well, I'll watch Royal Rumble, I guess, when that comes around in SummerSlam. Wasn't there one? There was like Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam or Survivor Series or something. It's like, come on, man. So wrestling's come a long way since then, and that is attributed to AEW. Problem is, once Vince left, Triple H picked up. Wrestling was hot. WWE got hotter because of it. Triple H had to deliver. Who knows how Triple H would be delivering now if he didn't have competition? And make no mistake about it, Triple H likes competition. He likes to beat competition. He's talked mad shit about AEW over the years. Don't think that he doesn't like dunking on them. You know, he might consider them beneath him. He might not be worried about them, but I'm sure like every chance he gets to dunk on them, he'll take it and laugh about it. Because why not? You can see it the way that they do. I mean, it's not a mistake that everybody that comes over from AEW to WWE get put in a prominent spot. I mean, you make Ethan Page your NXT champion. Come on. Like, Ethan Page is good. I'm not taking anything away from Ethan Page, but I mean, he's not a main eventer. Like, I've never seen him. He's not quite there yet. Maybe that's just me. I mean, look, everybody has their own taste. There's plenty of you that are like, "Oh, I love Ethan Page and what he's doing," and I mean, good, glad. But to me, he's a perennial mid-carder, a good mid-carder, a great hand. You know, could end up being a Hall of Fame level mid-carder, but So it feels like they did that to kind of stick it to AEW a little bit. See, come on over here and we'll make you a big star, you know? But maybe they're just booking people better, and I'm reading too much into that too. It's probably a mix of both. But it doesn't change the fact that AEW's existence makes the wrestling industry better. So I hope they get that new TV deal. It's likely they will. And I've always said that it'll be a bigger money deal than they're making right now. You know, people think, oh, the ratings are dropping, it's going to be a cut. Yes, that's not a good look, though. This media guy that was interviewed on Busted Open didn't seem to see the drop from 900,000 to 700,000 as a big deal. Said if it was dropping into like the 500,000, 6.5 consistently, and just continuing the downward trend, then it might be a dead product. But he kind of considered the fact that this is a newer brand still, and it's kind of going to fluctuate and find its place, and staying at least consistency in and around the 700,000 mark with the target demographic there is enough for Warner Bros Discovery to want to throw money at them. And it goes back, see, people got all freaked out. I dove into this really hard. I'm almost done here. We'll wrap it up, I promise. I dove into this a little harder when the merger happened, when David Zaslav took over. He was the Discovery guy, came in and took over, and then there were people getting fired, right? And there was a lot of people in the wrestling community that were like, oh my God, it's a big shakeup and stuff. You know, AEW could be on the chopping block. And it's like, maybe, so let's see. And I dove in and watched interviews with David Zaslav to get an idea of what he wanted. And he was stressing, I want fandoms, which is why he's got like the DC that we talked about, the DCEU, the Batman, Superman, all of that. There's fandoms there. He's got the Harry Potter collection there. I'm forgetting other properties that they own under Warner Brothers. But AEW certainly falls into a fandom. They also want low-budget, unscripted television. And as much as you like to think that what AEW is asking for is a big ticket price, it's not. Reruns of fucking Friends cost $1 million, folks. Like, what AEW is going to get paid, what, $100 million a year or something like that, like 120, 150. Like, it's not unreasonable for all the content. Plus, if they end up on the streaming network, it's peanuts compared to what other shows end up costing these networks. So, and it's live, and they can integrate, and they can co-brand. And then there was the other lady that was in charge of programming that was trying to build shows around AEW. So we want to keep AEW, so what can we put around it that will keep the fans, you know, they considered AEW an anchor point show, essentially. So we'll program other programming around AEW to try to tap into the fans that are there for AEW. So I don't think they're just going to just flippantly just dismiss them and just fuck it. It's not like it was when AOL Time Warner merged and one guy was like, I don't really like wrestling and I don't want it on our shit. So, I mean, that can always happen at any point in time, but as of right now, like, they're partners with AEW. They see the potential. They like having AEW as a brand on their shows. It's just, if they need to scratch together the money for the NBA, either AEW is going to get cut. I mean, that would certainly be on the chopping block, I would think. Or at least they're not going to get the renewal that they were hoping for. But if that NBA deal doesn't go through, you're definitely going to see Warner Bros. Discovery double down and really put in some stank behind AEW, because they'll need to at that point, because it's not anything compared to basketball, but it's still live, it's still sports-esque, and it's still going to command a following, a fan base, a live viewership, social media interaction. Like, these are all good things, and it comes with a big back catalog you can throw on Max. So expect to see them get a pretty big deal. But if you see Warner Brothers Discovery somehow, some way retain the media rights to the NBA over Amazon, which you won't, because Amazon's going to beat them in court too. Warner Brothers filed a lawsuit there, though they're not competing with Amazon. I guess they're competing with the NBA, but still, that's not going to go anywhere. It's not an equal offer. So I would expect them to be very safe, but it is something to watch. We'll leave it there. Peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes.
Thank you for checking out the video. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to rest in peace.